Russian forces in Kupiansk are fleeing in panic. Enemy soldiers neutralized and their equipment destroyed. On the Kupiansk axis, operators of unmanned systems from the 15th Brigade of the National Guard of Ukraine Kara-Dag continue to maintain precise and systematic fire control deep into enemy concentration and build-up areas. Over the course of several days, Ukrainian drone crews have destroyed enemy quad bikes, motorcycles, electronic warfare systems, and 2 artillery pieces, including a Nona-K self-propelled mortar. Enemy infantry has not been spared either. Relentless pressure, accurate strikes, and total control from the air. This is how the enemy's rear is being dismantled step by step. On the Kupiansk axis, drone pilots of the 77th Separate Air Mobile Brigade are carrying out systematic and highly effective combat operations against enemy forces, focusing on the detection and elimination of small infantry assault groups. Over recent days, multiple enemy infantry groups have been neutralized before they could reach firing positions or organize coordinated assaults. These actions significantly disrupt the enemy's tactics, slow down their offensive momentum, and inflict steady losses on manpower. Contact aerial presence, rapid reaction, and accurate targeting allow the brigade to maintain control over key sections of the front. The work of drone pilots plays a critical role in protecting Ukrainian positions, denying the enemy freedom of movement, and gradually wearing down their combat capability. Window of opportunity. The enemy rushed in, FPVs caught up. As soon as the enemy tried to push forward, Ukrainian FPV crews seized the moment. Occupiers attempted to flee through windows, crawl through pipes, and hide in makeshift shelters. But kamikaze drones of the 3rd Army Corps proved faster and far more precise. Enemy infantry was systematically destroyed during attempts to escape, take cover, or return fire. FPVs followed them into shelters, striking directly inside their hideouts, leaving no safe space behind. Disguised artillery positions were also detected and eliminated. The unpacking was intense and unforgiving. This footage was provided by PBC Kraken 1654. Combat operations against the enemy were carried out by fighters of the 3rd Battalion, Paskuda Battalion, the 2nd UAV Battalion, demonstrating coordinated action, rapid response, and total dominance in the strike zone. Special Operations Forces strike Shahed Depot, pontoon crossing, and military equipment in occupied territories. Units of the Special Operations Forces of Ukraine carried out a series of precision strikes against enemy targets on temporarily occupied territories in Donetsk Oblast and Luhansk Oblast using FP-2 strike unmanned aerial vehicles. In Donetsk Oblast, near the settlement of Makiivka, Ukrainian operators successfully hit a storage facility used to house Shahed-type attack drones, dealing a significant blow to the enemy's strike capabilities. In a separate operation near Nikonrivka, Special Operations Forces drones struck and damaged an enemy pontoon crossing, disrupting logistics routes and limiting the movement of personnel and equipment. Additionally, in Luhansk Oblast, near the city of Antratsy, Special Operations Forces targeted the location of a repair unit belonging to the 1435th Motorized Rifle Regiment. The strike hit military equipment and support assets, further degrading the enemy's ability to repair and return damaged hardware to the battlefield. HUR operation in Melitopol eliminates at least 4 Russian occupiers, damages Ural military truck. An explosion struck the industrial zone of temporarily occupied Melitopol, where Russian occupying forces were loading a military Ural truck. The industrial area is routinely used by Russian units as an ammunition storage site and a base for military equipment. At the moment of maximum concentration of personnel around the vehicle, a powerful blast occurred. As a result of the strike, at least 4 Russian occupiers were critically wounded, and the military truck sustained significant damage, disrupting enemy logistics and operations in the area. Minus 25 pieces of equipment, a scorching December on the Kostiantynivka axis. Despite freezing temperatures, December has been anything but cold on the Kostiantynivka axis. Not only because of recent assault attempts, but due to the growing enemy activity. Russian forces continue to funnel large amounts of equipment and infantry into the sector, attempting to reinforce their positions and build momentum. This effort comes at a high cost for the enemy. Over the past week alone, 25 units of Russian military equipment were successfully hit and disabled. While this is only part of the brigade's overall results, these losses are tangible and painful for the occupiers, significantly reducing their operational capabilities in the area. These strikes are the result of the coordinated and relentless work of drone pilots from the 28th Separate Mechanized Brigade, including the well-known UAV teams of BPPS Spala, Kurdin Company, and RV from the 3rd Mechanized Battalion. Their precision, persistence, and battlefield awareness allow Ukrainian forces to systematically dismantle enemy hardware before it can be used effectively. Destroying enemy armor and logistics. Operators of the 5th Assault Brigade continue their systematic and methodical destruction of enemy equipment, striking directly at the backbone of Russian combat capability, mobility, and logistics. As a result of precise coordination, effective reconnaissance, and accurate fire engagement, one armored personnel carrier was destroyed, 2 enemy vehicles were completely eliminated, 1 additional enemy vehicle was successfully hit. Each of these strikes disrupts the enemy's supply routes, slows the movement of troops and ammunition, and reduces overall combat effectiveness on the battlefield. By denying the occupiers the ability to maneuver and resupply, Ukrainian forces steadily erode their operational potential. No branch, no shelter, and no dugout can save the occupiers when fiber-optic FPV drone operators of the 57th Motorized Infantry Brigade go to work. Every enemy movement is detected, tracked, and kept under constant control. Concealment offers no protection, trenches, cover, and improvised hideouts are systematically exposed. Once a target is identified, the outcome is decisive and final. Thanks to secure fiber-optic control, Ukrainian FPV drones operate with unmatched precision and resistance to electronic warfare, allowing strikes exactly where the enemy believes they are safe. Total battlefield awareness, relentless pursuit, and swift elimination – this is how the 57th Motorized Infantry Brigade dominates the fight and leaves the occupiers with nowhere to hide. Fighters of the 33rd Mechanized Brigade destroyed an enemy assault group at the formation stage, preventing it from ever reaching the battlefield. Russian forces attempted to assemble in front of a breach on the road toward Volodymyrivka, preparing for further movement. However, FPV drone pilots intervened at exactly the right moment, disrupting the enemy's plans before the column could advance. As a result of precise FPV strikes, 5 enemy quad bikes were destroyed on the spot, never leaving their starting positions. At least 4 enemy infantrymen were eliminated, dealing a direct blow to the assault group's manpower. Wave after wave of enemy attacks continues in Kharkiv Oblast, and the outcome remains the same every time – consistent enemy losses. Drone operators from the Gatilo unit destroyed an ammunition depot, triggering a powerful secondary detonation. FPV crews then dismantled the MT-LB armored vehicle and an artillery piece, depriving the enemy of both mobility and fire support. Border Guard units added to the toll by eliminating enemy motorcycles and roaming assault groups in the Dvorichna area and near Kamyanka. Attempts to infiltrate or maneuver were detected early and shut down with precision. Target lost by location. 3 simple words, but behind them are countless sleepless nights for our electronic warfare crews. Those words mean that yet another enemy drone failed to reach its target, failed to see, and failed to cause harm. Navigation was disrupted, control was broken, and the threat was neutralized before it could strike. This is warfare without explosions on screen, quiet, precise, and relentless. No missiles launched, no shots fired, yet the sky is defended just the same. Pilots of the 88th Separate Battalion of the 35th Separate Marine Brigade successfully detected and destroyed Russian armored vehicles on the Pokrovsk axis. This operation significantly disrupted the enemy's plans in the Pokrovsk direction, reducing their offensive capabilities and limiting their ability to deploy armored support. The effective use of drones once again demonstrated the growing role of unmanned systems in modern warfare and the high level of training of Ukrainian Marine units. The actions of the 88th Separate Battalion and the 35th Marine Brigade continue to play a crucial role in holding the line, inflicting losses on the enemy, and strengthening Ukraine's defensive positions in one of the most contested sectors of the front. One precise drop and the enemy's manpower is eliminated. Pilots of the 3rd Army Corps continue to systematically reduce Russian infantry on the Liman axis, delivering accurate strikes against enemy concentrations and assault groups. Using aerial reconnaissance and strike drones, Ukrainian crews carried out a series of precision drops, destroying several buildings in which Russian troops had taken shelter. In addition, enemy infantry attempting to hide and maneuver in forested areas and tree lines were successfully targeted and neutralized. These strikes were conducted by the pilots of the 1st Mechanized Battalion of the 53rd Separate Mechanized Brigade, who once again demonstrated high coordination, combat experience, and effective use of unmanned systems on the battlefield. Enemy UGV destroyed. The war of technologies continues. Drones of the 3rd Assault Brigade successfully tracked down and blew up an enemy unmanned ground vehicle that was loaded with mines and moving toward Ukrainian positions. Thanks to constant aerial surveillance and rapid response, Ukrainian drone operators detected the hostile robotic platform in time and carried out a precise strike, detonating the UGV along with its explosive payload. The destruction of this system prevented the enemy from deploying mines and using the vehicle to support further assaults or sabotage operations. In addition, Ukrainian UAV crews caught up with enemy infantry on roads and in forest belts across the Kharkiv region. Russian soldiers attempting to move or regroup were targeted with accurate drone drops, resulting in direct hits and significant losses. The situation in Gulyaipole remains extremely difficult according to the Southern Defense Forces. Heavy fighting continues along the line of contact with sustained pressure, constant engagements and rapidly changing conditions on the ground. Ukrainian forces are operating in a complex and dynamic environment where every position and movement requires maximum coordination and resilience. More details on what is happening along the front line and the real picture from the combat zone in our full military review.
ADG under attack by Ukrainian drones. Local authorities are not disclosing details of the attack. The Russian Ministry of Defense reported the alleged downing of 3 fixed-wing drones over the region. According to videos published on Telegram channels, the Kanskoye military airfield was hit.
This is in fact a continuation of those strikes. The most heavily protected targets, namely airfields, are exactly such sites, and the fact that in Adygea itself the Russians are unable to hide their aircraft and that the airfield's infrastructure has been hit is a vivid example that the fight should not be against the aircraft themselves but against their bases. That is precisely where they are most vulnerable.
The raid in Adygea, it seems, is not the only recent blow to Russian defenses. On December 27th, their TV channel Zvezda published several videos from Ukrainian Kupiansk in the Kharkiv region, a city whose capture the ministry has been claiming since late November. The footage was supposed to confirm Russian control over the city, but in one of the videos, a group of Russian soldiers is actually seen retreating. And this was noticed. Z military correspondence.
This is pressure on our European partners, on the Americans, and also on us, the citizens of Ukraine, to make it seem like things are really bad over there. And a parallel idea is being pushed that our government is hiding something from us.
There are ways to counter drones, or just snow-air defense, as our defenders called this video. In it, the occupier, spoiler alert, unsuccessfully tries to shoot down a Ukrainian FPV drone. But in the end, this FPV drone takes down the occupier for good. According to the Southern Defense Forces, part of Gulyaipole in the Zaporizhzhia region is under the control of the occupiers. It is noted that the situation is difficult.
Fierce fighting continues there. And this direction is important because it leads towards Zaporizhzhia, the regional center. The Russian forces have made several persistent attempts. Throughout the course of this entire year, they repeatedly tried to break through toward the city of Zaporizhzhia from the south, but there they encountered our extremely well-fortified and resilient defensive line. And in fact, by strategically expanding and developing their operation from the east in the Donetsk region, they successfully concentrated and gathered a substantial and sufficient number of military forces, and thus they began advancing not from the south anymore, but from the east.
Putin is not aware of what is happening at the front. Moreover, his own generals are deceiving him, according to concerned propagandists.
And the man has absolutely no idea what's going on at the front ever since the very beginning of the so-called special military operation.
In fact, that's why, according to your insiders, Putin spouts all the nonsense that he does.
Basically, the general staff is handling things, the general staff is in charge, and now he's started to get involved in matters that, accordingly, do not reflect reality, including regarding...
Putin is a professional KGB officer, a man who receives extensive information from a wide variety of different sources, including, let's say, from semi-official sources, that is, not only, well, not just official secrets, so to speak, not only from the generals. And to think that Putin is so stupid and doesn't understand what's going on, that some generals are feeding him nonsense. And that's why he also spouts nonsense. It's all a planned, clearly orchestrated action.
Well, while Putin's Russian army is disgracing itself, the Ukrainian army is destroying the enemy. For example, here are some shots from the Serebryansky forest, which is located in the Lyman direction of the front. In these shots, Ukrainian FPV drones are destroying the enemy completely and irreversibly.
Ukrainian weapons are tearing through Russia's army. On the close front line, Ukraine relies on low-cost radio-controlled FPV drones, which according to Ukrainian assessments became the leading cause of enemy losses in 2025. Even inside Russia, officials have admitted they are falling behind Ukraine in the field of heavy drones. How Kyiv gained this edge and why Moscow can't keep up? Our journalists have the details.
A new level and scale. Ukraine is accelerating the development of its own defense industry and preparing to introduce new artillery, missile, and unmanned systems. More than 50% of the weaponry in the Ukrainian army is domestically produced, which not only allows them to destroy the enemy on the front lines, but also to strike deep into Russia.
Today, Ukraine is one of the leaders, and I would even say a trendsetter, in the production of long-range drones, ballistic weapons, cruise missiles, and unmanned drones. Well, in some respects, I am, of course, getting ahead of myself, but we can already say that Ukraine has managed not only to scale up its program for the use of aerial strike drones to the level of systematic operations against the rear of the Russian Federation, but also to deploy unmanned boats and maritime drones in the Black Sea, which has completely blocked the Black Sea for the Russian occupiers.
The armed forces of Ukraine are successfully attacking military targets in the Russian Federation. Ukrainian drones have delivered a historic blow to Russia's oil industry, paralyzing 38% of its refineries and creating an unprecedented crisis in the fuel market. Since the start of the full-scale war, Ukraine has ramped up weapons production and the implementation of new technologies which are already being used at the front. The armed forces of Ukraine have begun using domestically produced Sapsan ballistic missiles to strike the enemy. Ukraine has also improved the effectiveness of its Neptune and Flamingo missile strikes. More than 500 Ukrainian companies are involved in the development and production of UAVs. The equipment is tested in combat conditions every day. Ukraine's defense industry is capable of producing up to 8 million drones per year, provided there is sufficient funding. FPV drones, bomb-carrying reconnaissance drones, interceptors, tactical kamikaze drones, and fiber-optic drones.
Russia is significantly behind in this area, while Ukraine is actively developing new types for various purposes with different characteristics. And that says a lot. This points to a much broader perspective on the technical and technological possibilities for solutions within a specific component of strike capabilities: long-range attack drones.
Currently, the number of FPV drones on the Ukrainian side exceeds the number of such drones used by the Russian occupiers. Moreover, Russia has admitted that it is lagging behind Ukraine in the field of heavy drones.
Indeed, as of today, Ukraine is far ahead of Russia when it comes to the use of attack drones. I would even go further. Ukraine has a whole range of different types of long-range attack drone modifications which are used under various conditions or in combination. And what is Russia known for in this regard? It is known for simply taking and copying the Iranian Shahed 136, renaming it Geran 2, and using it against Ukraine, occasionally modifying the overall concept.
The war has become a powerful catalyst for the development of Ukraine's defense industrial complex. The volume of domestic weapons production has increased by dozens of times. Thanks to private companies, Ukraine is able to create innovations in the defense industry and effectively implement them on the battlefield.
Until 2022, we had a very modest military budget and limited technologies. But nevertheless, thanks to our creativity, we were able to surpass Russia in a number of areas. Even though, before the full-scale invasion of Ukraine, Russia had, in some sense, compared to us, a much larger, almost unlimited resource base. At present, yes, in a number of missile technologies, we have achieved results that even Russia does not have. Take the same Flamingo missile, even though it is a mobilization type and rather raw product, it already has a base range of 3,000 kilometers.
All this means that Ukrainian developers have demonstrated the ability to create high-precision weaponry capable of destroying important enemy military targets deep behind the front lines.
That's all for now. If you believe the world should know the truth about this war, make sure to subscribe, like and share this video so everyone can see what Ukraine is fighting for. Together we're stronger, together we bring victory closer.